This week, Siskel and Ebert review bounty hunter Mick Jagger stalking Emilio Estevez in Freejack. Rebecca De Mornay threatens Annabella Sciorra in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And Kevin Costner talks about the controversy over JFK.
Tell me who's behind all this. Who told you I'd be here?
I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that.
Emilio Estevez plays a race car driver hijacked to a future world that includes Mick Jagger in Freejack. It's one of the new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert, and we'll have an interview with Kevin Costner on the JFK controversy. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Our first movie is named Freejack, an ambitious but misguided science fiction film that assumes that in less than 20 years' time, the Earth will be so polluted that all living human beings will be fatally flawed in one way or another. Gee, they're halfway there. So a rich man reaches back through time to snatch a healthy body from the past, and muscular young race car driver Emilio Estevez ends up wandering around very badly confused in the 21st century.
I'm looking for Julie. Julie Redland. Damn it, now where is she?
You get out of my face.
Charles, wait. Julie Redland? Child, we bought this place from her years ago.
No, that's impossible. I was with her here this morning.
Oh, my God. He's a Freejack.
In charge of tracking down Freejacks is a warrior scientist played by Mick Jagger, who shares the cynical values of his disintegrating society.
Let me tell you something. I said I'd deliver Furlong, and that's what I'll do. Feel free to make any arrangements you like, but keep your people out of my way.
Estevez searches through the future for his girlfriend from the past, played by Renee Russo. When he finds her, she's held up pretty good after 18 years. Only her hair has changed, and now she's a powerful executive in the company that runs the world.
Will you stop for 1 second and listen to me? Alex, I can prove it!
Anthony Hopkins has a small but important role as the mighty billionaire who employs Russo and would like to inhabit her boyfriend's healthy body.
Where are you, Jewel?
I'm at a friend's.
Oh. Is she with you now?
No.
You have to give Freejack credit for having ambition and for containing ideas which are a little more challenging and complicated than at first you might suspect. The screenplay is based on the science fiction classic Immortality Incorporated by Robert Sheckley. Unfortunately, the ideas take second place to a lot of high-tech action stuff, explosions, fights, special effects, and those parts of the movie look like every other futuristic action picture.
Absolutely.
I found part of it interesting in terms of its premise, but none of it interesting in terms of entertainment.
No, I mean, in the writing, it is like every other science fiction futuristic piece, Roger, and I really am tired of this group because they all do the same thing. They take all the problems of the present, just exaggerate them a little bit, and give us this alienating society. Why doesn't somebody go for a futuristic exercise where the world is better? Why don't they make that leap? It seems so obvious to have a world that's so much better and then indict the present. They want to indict the present by making us see more present.
There's another problem, which is if you were a race car driver who had wiped out when your car hit a bridge and you went up in flames, and then you find yourself in the year 2009, what is the first thing you would do?
What happened?
Immediately, would you start looking for your girlfriend? Well, maybe you would. But, I mean, they always turn it into a very trivial little story about whether these two people will get back together again. The guy never seems to be properly astonished by the enormity of what's happened to him.
Exactly right. I was clocking it. The picture probably goes 40 to 45 minutes before he says, hey, what happened?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Ridiculous. And it isn't, 20 years is not that far enough in the future. Okay, next movie. And well, I mean, in other words, it's not like he's gone centuries. It's, you know.
Well, 20 years would still be amazing to me.
It would be amazing.
If I woke up in 20 years and I was still here across from you.
You got it.
It would be amazing.
the waking up is what would be interesting for you. Our next movie and our next film is also set in the future. It's a thriller called Until the End of the World and stars William Hurt as a man followed all over the globe by a woman who adores him. Here's their first meeting.
Can I help you?
Are you still there? Where are you? Hold on a second, Gunther.
Look at me.
Yeah, it's my eyes.
I can't see anything.
Well, it's better already.
Hurt plays the son of an inventor, Max von Sydow, who years ago ran away from an American company he felt would misuse one of his inventions. It's a machine that transforms brain waves into images and images into brain waves. It helps the blind to see. Hurt wants to complete his dad's work.
When you disappeared from America and I thought you were dead or in jail, I lost a whole year of my life looking for you.
Oh, I never said thank you, huh?
That's right, never. I lost my wife and my only child for you.
That's a pretty awkward scene, and think of the caliber of actors we were watching there. They can't help that dialogue, and the script of Until the End of the World is its weakest element. For its first two-thirds, it's a worldwide chase picture. Then we get Max von Sydow and his dream machine. What's fun is, and the only thing that's fun about this picture is, occasionally director Wim Wenders has images of dreams that are exciting, and he uses a lot of cutting-edge technology in the picture. But it's undone by the most old-fashioned, important element in narrative movie making, stilted writing.
You know, sometimes it's hard to draw the line between a great imagination and just a simple lack of artistic discipline. But here I think what Wenders has done is given himself permission to make a very shapeless, formless picture that might have worked. Maybe it would have worked in a different way, but it doesn't here because, as you mentioned, in the first two-thirds of the picture, he tries to make us believe it's some kind of a genre film. Then he makes a right turn or a U-turn and turns it into an entirely different kind of film that is very unconvincing and seems very concocted and very contrived.
Yeah, ordinary.
And then he spends a lot of time trying to explain the plot backwards so that we'll know what the loose ends meant. And by the end of the film, frankly, I just didn't care.
Well, you know what? I mean, frankly, William Hurt, in Altered States, one of his first pictures, did this kind of a story in a much more rigorous way and in a much better film. So he's failed on ground that's already been trod.
Coming up next, an attack on urban violence named Juice, and later in the show, the hand that rocks the cradle.
But your mommy wasn't mean like mine.
I didn't have a mommy.
Cool, man. I hope you're taking care of yourself. Word up.
Come on, man. This is Blizz. Of course I'm taking care of myself, man.
Cool, man. It's nice to see you, man.
Yeah, pardon me for a second. I'm about to rob this place.
All right, everybody, put your hands in the air.
A friendly conversation takes an unexpected turn in our next film, Juice, the first film directed by Ernest Dickerson, who is already well known as the cinematographer for Spike Lee's films. And, as you might expect, this is a good-looking film, although it tells a story that's more limited and has a more predictable moral than you probably find in a film by Lee. The movie follows four young men through a fairly typical period in their lives, made different only because through the leadership of one of them, named Raheem, they have started to drift into crime.
Sir? Sir? Sir, can I check that newspaper?
When one of their friends is killed while committing a stick-up, for the character named Bishop, the moral is clear. You need a gun to assert yourself.
You gotta get the ground beneath your feet, partner. Get the wind behind your back and go out in the blaze if you got to. Otherwise, you might as well be dead your damn self.
The young men feel even more need for a gun when their leader, Raheem, talks them into robbing a neighborhood grocery store.
Look, old man Quillis is not gonna draw on somebody that got a gun on him. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be a piece of cake, Q.
Yeah, man, it'll be a piece of cake.
One of the movie's subplots evolves around the musical ambitions of the character named Q. The planned robbery is scheduled on the same night as his competition in a big DJ contest. Juice is a powerful statement against the availability of cheap handguns on the city streets and a lesson for anyone who might be watching and listening that the very possession of a lethal weapon can cause tragedy for the people around it. The movie's bleak message seems to be that guns are manufactured to be fired. You know what they say? That a hammer finds a tack? And that irresponsibility about their sale and use leads to the destruction of lives. It's a strong message in a movie that's well made but probably suffers from inevitable comparisons with Spike Lee's work. But after one film, what you can basically say is that Ernest Dickerson is a great cinematographer, but not yet a great director.
So are you recommending the picture or not?
I'm recommending the picture, yeah, marginally, yeah.
I think that you're giving too much credit for the message. I mean, the danger of handguns is well known, and it would almost be impossible to make anything less than, I don't think this is powerful, I guess is the point I'm trying to make, statement against handguns. I think there are a lot of
what
pictures.
I think is really good about the picture, apart from its message, and that is the way that we see the daily lives of these young men, and the way that the kid who really only wants to be a DJ gets carried along by peer pressure against his will into a situation of crime.
Except that I did not believe that the gang, these kids, three of them, of the quartet, three of them who seem like really nice guys, okay? And I'm talking about how the actors are coming across, would continue in this violent world. I did not believe...
The movie is about the dynamic that gets them into a situation that they don't want to be in.
I can understand the first shot. I cannot understand being around on subsequent shots, and that I just didn't buy it as a movie, and it could have been taken place in South Carolina in the country, and I would have found this picture to be a fault.
Well,
I think it's really easy. It's an easy subject area to do
See, that's
badly.
where I disagree with that. I really believe that he was able to show how that dynamic worked with that group, getting itself into a position it didn't want to be in.
No, I think it's an easy target. He didn't do a good job.
Coming up next, a review of the most popular film in the country right now, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
They never caught who did it. But I firmly believe what goes around comes around.
That's Rebecca De Mornay as the nanny with a deadly revenge motive in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, a film that exploits a parent's nightmare, bad domestic help. Very bad domestic help. I had trouble accepting the premise of this picture because of the casual way in which the nanny is hired in an early scene by the mother, Annabella Sciorra.
I can't believe I forgot that I had an appointment with you. I'm usually so good about these things.
Well, actually, I didn't have an appointment.
Oh, did the agency just tell you to stop on by?
Well, no, I'm not with an agency.
Come on, would anyone really hire a stranger off the street to work in their home with their children, including an infant? Much more believable is the supporting character of the mother's best friend, played by Julianne Moore.
You never, ever let an attractive woman take a power position in your home. Very bad business.
Some power. You heard what I said.
The friend is a terrific character. It's too bad she doesn't have more scenes in the picture. But my biggest objection to Hand That Rocks the Cradle is to its scenes with the children in jeopardy or psychic pain. For example, when the nanny beds down with the little girl and sets up a fear of the child's mother abandoning her.
Your mommy died? And who took care of you?
I had to take care of myself.
That's really kind of cheap. In my opinion, a movie has to be awfully good to justify using a child in pain. Something at the level of The Exorcist can get away with it, not this. And I felt that way a long time before I became a parent. There are some fun thrills in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, to be sure, but I found a lot of it distasteful, too.
This is the kind of argument we have very frequently, because you find things that are implausible and so forth in a film, and other things you object to. I found this film worked, and that's usually the way I approach it. I go to a thriller expecting to be thrilled. I don't go expecting to have all of my sensibilities respected and all of my sensitivities honored, because I know that in a movie like this, I can almost anticipate exactly what it's going to be about.
Can I ask you one question? Yeah. Would the picture have been better if you had bought the premise? See, that's where we do have this argument. You'll say, but Gene, you got to grant a movie its premise. And I say, not really. Let them write a better premise, then I'll grant it.
I grant the premise. You can pick up the paper and read about killer nannies right now, going on all over the country.
Oh, Roger.
That's true.
What newspapers do you read?
They had a big case in England. I was just on vacation. They had her picture all over page 1. This is, but apart from that, in most of these thrillers, the premise is not too likely. Look at Fatal Attraction, or look at Jagged Edge. It's not that the premise is likely, it's that it touches on a fear that we all have, and that's why it appeals to us.
I said that it touched on
And I think the one thing you didn't really give fair hearing to was Rebecca De Mornay's performance in this film, because she does, I think, a very good job, a very, very sound job of being the villainess in this film, and I think it's an effective performance that works.
I think it's an effective performance, and I said that it touches on fears. I'm just saying, what about the cheap way of using the kids? You didn't like those scenes. Come on. You like those scenes?
I found them very interesting because I saw them as a portrait of the evil of that woman.
Okay. When we come back after Dances with Wolves and Robin Hood, Kevin Costner was a hero for our times, but not everyone likes his latest movie hero. We'll talk to him about the controversy surrounding JFK.
No movie in recent history has been attacked more violently than JFK, and although you may have heard some of Oliver Stone's responses to the charges, you may not have heard from Kevin Costner. We asked him how it felt to be caught in the crossfire.
Assassins need payrolls, schedules, times, orders. This was a military-style ambush from start to finish. This was a coup d'etat with Lyndon Johnson waiting in the wings.
There you have Kevin Costner delivering one of the many controversial theories that have made JFK the target of more criticism than any other American film in years. And along with Oliver Stone, who wrote and directed the movie, Costner has watched the film draw crowds despite a constant attack from journalists who don't like the movie's interpretation of history. Recently, I talked to Costner about the constant critical fire aimed at this movie and the people who made it. Were you surprised that this movie involves so much controversy and so many attacks?
I was because when I think of what could really be attacked in this country, it seems like we should be attacking homeless. I don't want to get on a political thing, but when I see a concentrated effort on one guy who somehow we're afraid of, that really makes me wonder what's the weight behind that? You know, to have his script printed in the Washington Post, some of it published, that's almost like industrial espionage. I mean, I personally go to the movies once a week to my theater, and I call it industrial espionage because I don't want to know the ending of something. I don't want to know something, and I feel like you're robbing me of my $7. You know, I don't like that. I think there's something unfair about that.
Do you feel in any way that you are a point man or that you have to take the heat for attacks on this movie? Does that impact on your career as an actor that you're also involved in the controversy?
I don't know. I don't know the implications of that. I'm kind of glad that I don't, because otherwise you'd be afraid of your own shadow every time you made a move, how it's going to impact what it's going to be. But I do have an obligation as one of the leads in the movie to speak up for the movie, because I am answerable to what it is I do and why I do it. At least in this day and age, people want to know. So I accept that.
Are you a political person, and has this movie disillusioned you about our government?
I guess I am political. I think we've got to think about this country in the way that we don't think. We're really not as smart as we think we are. We're not first in hardly anything anymore, except the production of movies. You know, we're not as clever as we think we are, and I think because we're dealing with both a lot.
There were some very well-known Hollywood names who turned down this role because they just didn't want to get their careers attached to this sort of controversy, and I admire Costner, whose politics are reportedly not at all the same as Oliver Stone's, for having the nerve to take this role and to put his neck on the line and to say, okay, let's give this point of view a hearing.
He did Oliver Stone more of a favor than he did himself playing this, and I think he could probably know that going in, so I admire it too, because Oliver Stone is borrowing, really, the all-American quality that Kevin Costner has, and Costner is getting into a politically charged project that can't help him. So I admire Costner. I admire Costner for it.
You say it can't help him. In the long run, it can't help him, because the actors that we really admire are actors who are prepared to play unlikable, controversial, strange, odd, unconventional characters. Look at Jack Nicholson, for example. Look at Gene Hackman. Look at actors like this who don't always think about their image, but who put the challenge of the role ahead of their image.
History will judge him well on this. I'm just saying that within the little power brokers of Hollywood, I don't know that this necessarily helps him. I want to take one crack because you picked it as the best film of the year. I want to take one crack at some of the letters that we've been getting. I had it on my 10 best list, too. We've been getting angry letters at us saying we're a bunch of dupes, and these are from people who haven't seen the picture, by the way. But that's okay. They're just going at our politics, our supposed politics, where I think we're really reviewing the picture. I want to say this about this movie, JFK. I don't think Oliver Stone really knows what happens. What happened then? No. I do not think he knows that.
You can't come out of the movie knowing what he thinks.
I think that Oliver Stone is saying this, and I wish people would understand it. I think that he's saying this, that in 1963, this country was so shell-shocked that for the last 29 years, we've been asleep. We have suffered under Watergate, Vietnam, savings and loan crises, Iran-Contra, and all this stuff, and we're not active enough. We're not active enough as citizens. That, to me, is a patriotic message. I don't understand why people can't understand that ultimately this is a patriotic film.
What he's saying is no matter whether you buy my theory
Get
or
active.
not,
Get involved.
let's go back and look again at what happened and try to figure it out and not just be passive people who accept everything that's told
And
to
if we
us.
don't solve this crime, and I'm not convinced what happened either, if we don't solve this crime, but at least be participatory in our government. And that is the American ideal, and I think it's a patriotic picture.
Okay, coming up next, another look at the movies we reviewed on this program.
Chunky introduces another big chicken noodle soup. New classic chicken noodle made the Chunky way. Big, gigantically juicy chunks of chicken, humongously hearty noodles, and Titanic-tasting vegetables. Chunks big enough for a fork, but you better use a big spoon to get every drop of robust chicken broth. New Chunky classic chicken noodle. Soup so big, it eats like a meal.
Now let's recap the movies we reviewed on this show. 2 thumbs down for Freejack, the goofy sci-fi picture with Emilio Estevez, who doesn't seem to be concerned that he's done a wheelie into the future. 2 more thumbs down for Until the End of the World, Wim Wenders' futuristic journey into a world of a dream machine. Awkward screenwriting throughout this picture. A split vote on Juice, the urban handgun drama. Roger felt it made a strong statement. I thought the story was simplistic. Another split vote on The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Roger thought it works as a thriller. I had trouble with the premise and the children in danger.
So the movies we reviewed on this program, the one people should see is JFK.
Yeah.
That's it for this week. Next week we'll be back with Shining Through with Michael Douglas and Melanie Griffith taking on the Nazis. Also Denzel Washington in a cross-cultural love story called Mississippi Masala. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
It's America's favorite jelly bean, Jelly Belly, now appearing at theaters and video stores with good taste. Jelly Belly beans, try them, you'll love them. Cherokee, an American original, shoes and apparel for an unusual combination of fashion and comfort in junior, missy, petite, and women's sizes. Furnished by Cherokee. From Jonelle, calcium growth